Chapter 16 Flight of the Granny. Alex couldn't find her brother anywhere. "Have you seen Connor?" she asked Froggy. "He wasn't at breakfast this morning, and he isn't in the courtyard. I haven't seen him since yesterday," Froggy said. "Have you checked his room? Maybe he fell ill." Alex hoped this wasn't the case, as they were on the eve of their expedition. She climbed the stairs to his bedroom to check on him, praying he wasn't sick. "Connor?" Alex asked and knocked on the door. "Are you in here?" There was no response, so she twisted the handle and pushed open the door without an invitation. Connor was sitting straight up on his bed. He stared off into the distance, lost in thought. A small dribble of drool spilled from the corner of his mouth. "Are you feeling all right?" Alex asked. "What?" Connor said with a jump. He hadn't noticed the door open. "You don't look well," Alex said. "Are you sick?" Connor had to think about it. "No," he decided. "At least, I don't think I am." His gaze drifted off again toward his bedroom window. "Then what's the matter?" Alex asked. "You look like you've seen a—" Connor's face jerked in her direction. He looked absolutely horrified and didn't make a sound. Alex figured a speech had accidentally uncovered the truth. "Wait a second," Alex said. "Did you actually see a ghost?" Connor's eyes darted around the room. He didn't know how to explain. "It happened last night. I woke up and it was standing there, just staring at me," Connor proclaimed in bombastic gesture. "Who was staring at you?" Alex asked. "A ghost," he said. "She was standing right there." "I was being sarcastic," Alex said. "Are you telling me you saw an actual ghost?" "Yes," Connor said, and placed his hand on his face. "I mean, she was see-through, quiet, and disappeared into thin air. All signs point to it." "Are you sure you weren't dreaming?" Alex said. "You had to wake up from a dream," he said, "and I've been wide awake ever since it happened. I've been too afraid to move." Alex tried to come up with a logical explanation, but she couldn't. His hysterics made it hard for her to doubt him. "Maybe this castle is haunted," she suggested. "Who wants a new castle? That's like holding a grudge against a baby," Connor said. "It was so strange. She waited for me to see her. And once I did, she went over to the window and just pointed outside. It was the creepiest thing I've ever seen." "And you have no idea who she was?" Alex asked. "No clue," he said, and shook his head. "What's even stranger is that she looked familiar. I could swear I've seen her before." Alex took a seat on Connor's bed. Their days were already full of mystery. The last thing they needed to add to the mix was a ghost sighting. A moment later, Red's handmaiden knocked on the open door and peeked her head inside. "There you two are," the handmaiden said. "Her Majesty is looking for you two. She wants to see you in her chambers." The handmaiden hurried away as soon as she was finished giving her message. "I wouldn't mention the ghost to anyone if I were you," Alex said. "I think everyone has enough on their plates as it is." Connor couldn't have agreed more. "Trust me, the last thing I want people to know is that I am seeing dead people," he said. Alex sat with her brother until he gained the courage to leave his bed. He got dressed and the twins walked across the castle to meet Red in her chambers. Queen Red's new bedroom was twice the size of the twins' rental house. There was a diamond chandelier hanging from the ceiling, large, colorful, and cushioning furniture lined the room, and the biggest four-poster bed the twins had ever seen, large enough to sleep 10 comfortably. It was on its own platform in the back of the room. "Yoo-hoo! Oh, we're in here!" Red called from the doorway to the side. Twins followed her voice and found themselves stepping into a long hall of mirrors. It was almost as big as the bedroom itself. The hall was incredibly bright and had several chandeliers and wooden floors, and weeping willow trees were painted on the walls. "This is beautiful, Red," Alex said. "Is this your ballroom?" "Ballroom," Alex said with glance. "Good heavens, no, this is my closet." The twins did a double take. Between every two mirrors was a large chest of drawers built into the wall. A collection of golden chests lined the far side of the room. Thousands and thousands of clothes and accessories must have been kept here. Red was standing on a stool facing a mirror with a large gray fur coat around her shoulders. Her handmaiden took measurements and put pins along the sides of it. fit perfectly to the slender queen. Nice coat, Connor said. Thank you, Red said. It's for our voyage. I figured it might get chilly flaring around the sky, especially in the northern mountains where the Snow Queen lives. Did either of you bring a proper coat? Alex Connor shook their head. Luckily, I'm always thinking ahead, Red said. I had 2 coats whipped up for you with the extra material. The handmaiden tossed 2 furry coats on the twins, and they tried them on. They weren't quite as stylishly cut as the one Red was getting fitted for, but they would do just fine. The twins couldn't deny it was a very kind gesture on Red's part. She kept surprising them. Thanks, Red, Alex said. Connor looked down the coat suspiciously. What is this? He said. Or should I ask, what was this? It used to be in the rug in the library, Red said. Alex and Connor suddenly grew very uncomfortable. Are you telling me we're wearing the big bad wolf, Connor asked. Yes, Red said without a crumb of remorse. Soft, wasn't he? The twins grew very stiff as if they were wearing was still alive. I don't know what to say. Thank you so much for thinking of us, Alex said through her teeth. No trouble at all, Red said, and stepped off the stool. Now step up and have fitted properly. Saving the world is not an excuse for wearing ill-fitted clothes. Alex was first to step on her stool and get her coat tailored by the handmaiden. Speaking of things that used to be alive, Connor said, I was wondering, has anyone ever died in this castle? Alex shot him with a sharp look. Connor didn't make eye contact with him. No, thank heavens, Red said. Why would he ask such a question? Connor shrugged innocently. No reason, he said. If someone had, though, would you even know about it? Red glared at him peculiarly. Are you making plans to be the first, she asked. Of course not, Connor said. I was just curious. Forget I mentioned it. The handmaiden finished pinning Alex's coat, and Connor was next. Goldilocks entered the closet a few moments later. Her eyes had to adjust from the light. Where am I? Goldilocks said, stealing her face from the chandeliers. You're in my closet, Red said with an eye roll. Poor thing has been living like an animal for so long, she can't even recognize one, she whispered to the twins. For a moment I thought I just stepped into the sun, Goldilocks said. The ship is almost complete and we'll be lowering it soon. We need a chest. Froggy and I could find one here. Daddy, Red said. A little annoyed Froggy would point Goldilocks in the direction of her room. He was mistaken. I'm afraid all the chests up here are full. Goldilocks ignored her. She saw the line of them in the back of the hall and headed towards one. Perfect, Goldilocks said. She opened it up and dumped a pile of high-heeled shoes out of it. Excuse me, I need that, Red said. Well, we need it now, Goldilocks said, and started dragging the empty case across the closet. For what? Red said. We're going to fill it with supplies, Goldilocks said. Weapons, lanterns, ropes, things we actually need for the trip. Your shoes will just have to be homeless for the time being. Goldilocks dragged the chest out of sight. Red looked after her for a moment with a puzzled expression on his face. Sometimes when I talk to her, it feels like I'm not speaking to another woman, but to another species altogether, she said. The afternoon, the twins decided to go with Jack to plant the magic beans. Jack figured it was best to plant the beans in the same soil as the previous beanstalk. So they walked through the village and headed to his former home, just on the outskirts of town. Jack carried a shovel over his shoulder and held the bag of magic beans tightly in his hand. The ship is coming along splendidly, Jack said. The men are finishing up some final touches, but it'll be ready by sunset. When do we leave? Connor asked. Tonight at midnight, Jack said. The twins were half excited and half nervous to hear this. We have 5 places to stop, 6 including whenever the Enchantress keeps her most prized possession, Alex counted. Where are we going first? It's important that our course isn't predictable, Jack said. I reckon by our 2nd or 3rd stop, word will reach the Enchantress about our little escapade. We have to keep her guessing where we'll be headed. We should start with the Snow Queen first, begin our adventure with a bang. Then we'll go south to the wicked stepmother's estate. Then the beanstalk would be grown and we'll come back here for the giant's castle. Then we'll head northeast to collect pieces of the evil queen's mirror, and then south again for the sea witch's jewels. Oh, is that all? Connor said sarcastically. Hopefully, we'll figure out what Mina's most prized possession is before we get to the sea witch, Alex said. Yeah, hopefully, Connor said. They walked a bit longer and Jack's old house appeared in the distance. Both of them. A wooden shack Jack lived with his mother when they were poor sat in front of a large and elegant manor they had built after acquiring the riches from the giant. Jack stopped walking when he saw his old homes. "What's wrong?" Alex asked, looking back at him. "Nothing," he said quietly. "I just haven't been back in a really long time." "We know how you feel," Connor said. "Alex and I used to walk home every day from school to pass our old house. It used to make us sad." "That's just the thing," Jack said, and a small grin grew on his nostalgic face. "I was expecting to be sad. I was expecting to make me feel blue. But I feel quite the opposite. Every minute I remember spending here was a minute missing or worrying about Goldilocks. I don't suppose I could consider any place home without her." He continued walking with a cheerful hop in his step, patting the twins on their shoulders as he passed them. Alex smiled to herself, knowing how happy Goldilocks would be to hear this. Jack walked to the edge of the large hole in the ground that the previous beanstalk had grown out of. "I'll plant the beans here," Jack said. He dug a small hole and dropped the 3 magic beans into the ground. The last beanstalk took less than a day to grow. "Should someone keep an eye on it while we're away to make sure nothing disturbs its growth?" Alex asked. Jack contemplated this for a moment. "I have the perfect person for the job," he said, and headed toward the manor. Before he reached the large home, 2 windows in the front of the house burst open. Standing behind him was the beautiful golden magic harp. She sang with a soprano voice, and strings connected to her back, playing along with her voice. "Oh, another day has come at last. What once was today is now the past. The sun slowly sets and disappears. I've been at this window for too many years." "Jack!" "Hello, Harper," Jack said, happy to see his old friends. "Oh, my goodness gracious," the harp said, completely overwhelmed. "Is it really you? Are my eyes deceiving me?" "I'm here, Harper," Jack said bashfully. "I'm so sorry I hadn't written or visited. I couldn't risk being seen." The harp instantly burst into a triumphant song. "Oh, Jack, my Jack, Jack is back. You almost gave this heart a heart attack. But now I no longer need to be concerned, for Jack, my Jack, the Jack has finally returned." The twins couldn't help but applaud. She was a one-woman show. "I remember you two," the harp said. "It's been ages since I last saw you." "It's been a year," Connor said. "Only a year?" the harp said in amazement. "I could have sworn it was decades. Time goes by so much slower when you have nothing to look at but grass and an old shack and only the squirrels to keep you company." The harp's eyes began twitching. Alex kind of felt sorry for her when Jack lived in the house with her. They couldn't imagine what complete isolation had been like for her. The harp strings played the opening chords of a sad ballad. "Oh, lonely, lonely life I led, a lonely life as a seed, a tree with lonely, lonely leaves, but just how lovely, lonely, no one believes." Alex and Connor clapped again for her, though not as vigorously. "You look great," Connor said, trying to break the sad tension. "I'm sorry you've been so lonely, Harper. Truly I am. If it had been safe to come back to visit you, I would have," Jack said. "It's all forgotten, dear," the harp said. "Today is a happy day. You come home at last. I'm sad to tell you the house is an absolute mess inside. I would have tidied up if I'd known you were coming back, and if I had legs." "I'm not coming back, I'm afraid," Jack said. "We're just passing through." "Oh, I see," the harp said. Her strings played a sad little melody as her spirit sank. "But we were wondering if you could do us a favor," Jack said. The harp's tempo sped up as her hopes rised again. "A favor?" the harp asked, and her eyes fluttered. "What's your request, my boy? Is there a party you wish for me to perform at? A celebration you'd like me to serenade? A funeral you'd like to give a farewell or wherever at?" "Not exactly," Jack said sheepishly. "I just planted some magic beans. Would you mind keeping an eye on the beanstalk that grows while we're away for a few days?" The harp's hopeful chords came to an abrupt start. "Pardon?" the harp asked, and her eyes began to twitch more severely. "We're hoping you can keep an eye on the beanstalk," Connor reiterated. The harp's nostrils flared, and the eyebrows above her twitching were so high it almost touched her hairline. "I have performed for kings and queens and aristocrats," aristocrats, the harp said horribly insulted, and you're asking me to watch a plant grow for you? The three of them took a couple steps back from her. Do you have anything else better to do? Connor asked. It wasn't helping matters at all. The harp strings started to play a fast and angry theme behind her. Harper, are you aware of what's happening in the world? Jack asked. Unless it's happened directly in front of the house, I haven't heard about it, the harp said and folded her arms. Jack sighed and rubbed his neck, not knowing where to begin. Well, I don't mean to worry you, but the world is in a bit of a crisis, he said. We're going on a trip that will hopefully restore it. So if you could keep an eye on the beanstalk as it grows, it would be so appreciative. The harp snored and looked away from him. I suppose this is my new life now, he said overjoyedly. The former renowned entertainer of the Royal and the Rich is now a plant sitter. My, how far I've fallen. A clever smile appeared on Jack's face as an idea came to him. In exchange, Jack said, I'll have you move to Queen Red Riding Hood's castle. You can perform for the Queen and all her servants all day long. Connor laughed into his fist, poorly disguising it as a cough. The harp tried her best to conceal her intrigue, but it was obviously the most exciting proposal she had received in a decade. A symphony of exhilaration was coming from her strange. I will have to consider, the harp said with half a smile, but they all knew her answer. I will let you know if I decide to move into Queen Red's castle when you return, but for now, I'll keep an eye on your beanstalk. Now, if you excuse me, I must practice my scales. The harp quickly shut the window and went to work on their vocal exercises. Way to go, Connor said and patted Jack on the back. Aside from rescuing her from the giant, you probably just made her century, Alex said. Jack chuckled to himself. I'm not sure who I feel worse for, he said. Harper for leaving her alone for so long, or Red for sending Harper to live with her. The twins left, and the three headed back to the castle. The twins packed all their things and met the others downstairs in the courtyard at midnight. Connor was too scared to be by himself, so he didn't let Alex out of his sight. He wasn't afraid if he was alone the ghost would pay him another visit. The flying ship had come a very long way from the sketches in the library. The enormous vessel filled the entire courtyard. Made of woven pieces of wood, it looked like a giant ship-shaped basket. The carpenters had the ship on its side and were attaching a balloon and the sails on top of it. Oh, Granny, the balloon and sails look terrific, Red said. She was right. Although it was deflated, the twins couldn't deny that Granny, the little old woman, had stitched together an impressively durable balloon. In fact, the balloon looked sturdier than the actual ship. Oh, thank you, sweetheart, Granny said. We're so honored to be a part of it. Who's it tied? The old woman asked. Once the carpenters were finished attaching the balloon and sails, they ignited a large lamp-like object in the center of the ship. Carefully, with Jack's commands, the balloon and the sails were filled with hot air and the ship was pulled upright. Goldilocks dragged the chest she had filled with supplies into the ship. When she climbed aboard, she was surprised to discover the entire deck had been filled with dozens of other chests and trunks. What is all this? Goldilocks called down. Those are Queen Red's supplies, the third little pig said. What supplies? Goldilocks said in an irritated look. Oh, relax, Goldie, Red yelled up to her. I wasn't sure how long we'd be gone for, so I made sure I bring plenty of wardrobe options. Goldilocks visibly bit back her frustrations and made sure everything was properly tied down for the launch. Froggy hadn't brought anything into the ship except a tall stack of his favorite library books. Just something to pass the time, Froggy said. Everyone is welcome to share if they like. It was getting later and anticipation was rising. The twins and Jack joined Froggy and Goldilocks aboard the ship. Where's Red? Jack said after doing a head count. Just a second, Red said, and had quickly run back to her chambers to change to the third time that night. She wanted her outfit to be perfect for their maiden voyage. A basket hung from her arm like a purse, and she pulled out a fancy bottle of champagne from inside. Red cleared her throat. I would like to make an announcement, she said. Would you mind? Both could agree to it. Red stepped on top of the third little pig so she could get a nicer view of all the comforters in the room. Make it quick, Red. We have to be as far away as possible by sunrise, Goldilocks called down to her. Red waved off her off like she was a hovering insect. I want to thank all of the men, women, and pigs alike for working tirelessly around the clock to build this ship. You have made your kingdom and your queen very proud. It is an honor to be among citizens of your courage, strength, bravery, and spirit, Red said. The choir erupted in applause. It wouldn't be a proper launch without a proper christening, she went on, raising the bottle. I like to dedicate this ship in the name of my grandmother. May it be forever known as the HMS Granny. She smacked the bottle on the side of the ship and it burst into a fizzy explosion. Granny smiled, touched by her granddaughter's dedication. Red wiped her hand on the third little pig. Now someone clean that up, please, she ordered, and finally boarded the ship. Everyone brace yourselves for takeoff, Jack shouted. He pulled a lever near the flame and it grew 4 times the size. Goldilocks and the twins gripped the banister. Froggy took hold of the large steering wheel. He gulped and his thin frog legs trembled, but he was ready. The Granny, as Red had just declared it, smoothly rose higher and higher through the courtyard. The carpenters cheered from below. The twins held their breath, hoping nothing would go wrong on their first ascent. Within moments, they were rising past the tops of the castle, highest towards into the open night sky. We did it, the twins shouted. We're flying. It was so perfect and serene. A cool night breeze blew past them as the Red Riding Hood kingdom grew smaller and smaller. Froggy delicately turned the steering wheel, and the sails positioned the ship in the northern direction. The twins couldn't fight off the proud smells they shared with each other. Their vision had become a reality, and their flight had officially begun. Alright, that's the end of chapter 16. I hope you enjoyed the read. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to hear more from the Land of Stories, The Enchantress Returns, and more books in the future. And overall, I hope you enjoyed the reading.